Please welcome former Secretary of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development under President George W. Bush and the current President and CEO of Goodwill Industries International, Stephen C. Preston.
Good morning. Wow, what a panel. I was listening in the green room. I just felt like the pictures that they gave us, the language they used, the ideas that we got from that group just sort of put a lot of us in a different place in how we think of these issues. And I think we had 4 people with star power up here on the platform. So I just think we should give them another round of applause. I believe that what we just talked about, although I'm going to go in a different direction, but I believe what we just talked about is really one of the defining issues of our time. At Goodwill, we see it up close every day. Goodwill helps hundreds of thousands of people who need a second chance. And we see people, while they're currently incarcerated, and work with them, people coming home, and people on that multi-year journey forward. And we know that there are good solutions out there. We know that with the right kinds of support, in training, access to employment and other things, high recidivism rates plummet and they're replaced by high success rates and hope for the future. So the investments that we make in that support has a return many times over, both financially and in the form of transformed lives. So I would actually like to start today with a story about a changed life that actually sort of tangentially related to what you just heard, because Chelsea Rucker's story begins in brokenness following the incarceration of her partner. And it also captures the essence of how a life can be transformed by equipping someone to envision and achieve a different kind of future.
The most important thing about being a mother is leading by example. What do you do when you have nothing? A year ago, I found myself homeless with my daughters. The whole shelter experience. For the kids, I kept telling them that we were just on vacation and waiting for the house to be ready. That's the worst thing I ever had to do. I grew up in the housing projects in East Nashville, so nobody ever talked about career paths. I didn't know what to do or where to go, but I kept saying, they're watching how you handle this. You have a serious example to set for these girls. Most people think that Goodwill is just a retail store, but it's so much more than that. While I was living at the shelter, I decided to reach out to their career center, and I actually got a job as an office admin for Goodwill. A coworker told me that Goodwill and Google actually have a program to provide IT training. The program is called the IT Support Professional Certificate. When I learned that I could get a scholarship through Goodwill, it was life-changing.
Chelsea is the kind of person Goodwill was designed to support. That's why, thanks to the assistance of Google.org, we started the Goodwill Digital Career Accelerator. Using tools and resources from Grow with Google, the Goodwill Digital Career Accelerator is focused on connecting more than 1 million people with the skills they need to advance in digital careers. The Google IT Support Professional Certificate was a great building block for this.
I joined the 4 a.m. club. I would get up while the girls were asleep and do my schoolwork. While I was studying, I learned that a Google representative was going to come and give a tech talk at Goodwill. I had to go.
Chelsea really stood out when I met her at the Goodwill event. She asked some really interesting questions, and the enthusiasm was tangible. So I asked her to send me a resume.
When I got my interview, I was so nervous. I wasn't sure if I was good enough.
During the interview process, Chelsea demonstrated not only the foundational technical knowledge that she developed, but her initiative. And that's exactly what we need for people that are working in our data centers. So we brought her on board.
I absolutely love my job. When I first got the job, my daughter, she was like, "Mom, you got this job?" that means we'll have a house forever.
In the year that we've been working with Google.org, we've seen more than 250,000 people build their digital skills, and almost 30,000 people have gone to work.
A year ago, I wasn't sure where my life was going. I thought everything was falling apart. I feel hopeful about the future now. I want my daughters to know that they can achieve any goal that they can set for themselves. My goal is to be a developer. That's what I want to do. I've come this far. I plan to go to the stars. My name is Chelsea Rucker, and I'm a data center technician for Google.
Yeah. I think we need some tissue at a few of these tables over here. Little does Chelsea know that across America, people are seeing her story and reacting to it. So I would like to talk a little bit about Chelsea's story because I think her words mean a lot. She starts out by saying, "A year ago, I found myself homeless with my daughters." Things can change with the right kind of support. In one short year, Chelsea moved from not really knowing what was ahead, which she said at the end of the video, to a great job and a home. We didn't change her life, but we did equip her, and we gave her the support she needed to get through her training. I didn't know what to do or where to go. Nobody ever talked about career paths where I grew up. People don't have visibility into what's possible. They often don't have access to what's possible to make it a reality. And they need both before they can take that first step forward. The most important thing about being a mother is leading by example. The benefit of her employment went well beyond just the financial benefit, and it went beyond Chelsea. It gave her dignity, it gave her a place to contribute, a community, and it gave her family a new life. My goal is to be a developer. That's what I want to do. I've come this far, I plan to go to the stars. So this job is just a beginning, right? It's just a beginning because now she has relevant foundational skills. She has an understanding of what's possible. She has the support to make it happen, and what we say in our world is, I think she's become a lifelong learner, and she knows where that can take her. So many people really only know Goodwill for our stores, but our mission is to help people reach their full potential through what we refer to as learning and the power of work. Last year, 1.6 million people came through our door for face-to-face services. We supported over 30 million people through online support. We help equip people to overcome difficult barriers in their lives, as well as supporting people going through life transitions, such as veterans coming home, people who've been displaced, or actually people just looking to get ahead in their careers. Now, I want to anchor on the need to support people going through transitions, because the economic transition ahead of us could have a more significant and more rapid effect on our workforce than anything we've seen in our lifetimes. And how we face it could mean the difference between opportunity and despair for millions of Americans. The fourth industrial revolution is ushering in a new era where artificial intelligence, machine learning, autonomous systems will continue to transform workplaces and demand a new kind of workforce with new skills. It may be hard to imagine that today. There are over 7 million unfilled jobs in the economy today, many because businesses report that they can't find the skills that they need. But at the same time, we see nearly 6 million people unemployed, 7 million working poor, 38 million people living in poverty, as well as very low labor participation rates, which includes many people who've just stopped looking for work. So that's what it looks like in the most robust job market. As we look forward, the World Economic Forum estimates that 54% of people currently employed will need significant reskilling just in the next few years, and that by 2030, 16% of occupations will be automated worldwide, with nearly 39 million displaced workers in the US alone. Middle and higher skilled activities will continue to automate beyond that time frame. Now, there are a lot of different predictions out there about what's going to happen. Many of them are significantly less grim, and we also know that there will be many high-skilled jobs that will be created throughout this time as well. Nonetheless, we expect to see major job losses among incumbent workers, people who have jobs, who are supporting their families, who are paying their bills today, but may not be able to continue to do so unless they get the skills they need to compete in a new workforce. So we are devoting our time, ourselves very much to understanding that path ahead and what our role within that transition is. Because this issue is really right in the bullseye of who we are at Goodwill and what we're trying to achieve. So what do we know? We know that many people need to acquire core skills, digital skills, other academic foundations, often basic skills to help them operate effectively in the workplace. And while many employers are training employees and applicants to meet specific talent needs, people may not have enough foundational knowledge to be able to step into that training successfully. So these foundational skills may need to be acquired elsewhere, and they're the price of entry. We also know that training needs to be geared to adult learners if we're going to equip incumbent workers. And that means a lot of different things. First, it means how we instruct people. Adults respond well to hands-on practical training. They seek relevancy. They're goal-oriented. They want to connect the dots between their education and the job that they're going for. Adults also have many competing demands, and it often causes scheduling difficulty, child care issues, and sometimes financial constraints. And they often come into the learning environment with varying levels of confidence. And as a result, they often need coaching to support them through their journey. Getting all of this right is often the key to success. And so we have to understand that whole picture. Well, what else do we know? We know that jobs are local. So good things happen when employers, educators, service providers, and lawmakers work together on the ground with an understanding of the needs of the local population to ensure that they receive relevant skills and support that lead to real opportunities for real people where they live. We also know that billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, are being invested to support training and education programs without sufficient results. Whether it's student loans for educational programs that are not delivering the goods for students or employers, or workforce development funding that is falling short on results, there are clear opportunities for us to redeploy this massive pool of funds much more productively. And now is the time, I think, to take a step back and ask, how can funding be realigned to ensure that our families and our neighbors can acquire the skills that they need to fuel our economic future and to put themselves on a path to flourish in a rapidly changing economy? Now, there are a lot of bright spots, many of them. On the policy side, think tanks, foundations, many knowledgeable experts are dedicating themselves to understanding the need and recommending policy solutions in many different areas, such as employer incentives, credentialing, occupational licensing, and of course, better educational models. There are plenty of great ideas on the table to support our policy makers. Now we need people to start taking action. Businesses are stepping up to the plate. One of our closest partners, Walmart, is setting the pace in many ways. Walmart has already provided over 1 million employees with expansive training for Walmart jobs through Walmart Academy. They're also offering $1-a-day college programs to support employees who want to expand their skills further and may even want to move in jobs beyond Walmart for the good of their future, right? They're giving them a path forward wherever that may lead. Indeed is partnering with Goodwill to advance their commitment to help 1 million job seekers across the world find employment by 2024. Our partnership will focus on helping job seekers assess their skills, present their capabilities to employers effectively, and actually connect with employers at hiring events. And in fact, last week at our most recent event, 40% of the people walked away with a job. And Google's digital, And Google's digital initiative that we just heard on the video has a goal of helping 1.2 million people expand their digital skills and employment opportunities. And so we see these examples really across our economy, which is, I think, incredibly encouraging. Another thing, communities continue forward with innovative and creative partnerships. We are embedded in communities across the country. We see many of these partnerships. We participate in many of them. They're with governments, with educators, with employers, with prisons, and many others that are helping people advance their career based on opportunities in those communities, needs, people, relevant jobs where they live. And in addition, we have many targeted programs in our own network with very specific focuses that are giving us a great window into what's working and how we need to adapt. We have 26 adult high schools called Excel Centers. In fact, one of them is just down the road here in Washington. And they prepare students with both a high school degree and a credential. And the graduates are showing significantly higher wages. They're going on to higher degrees. And even their children are demonstrating improved academic performance. The Digital Career Accelerator that you heard about has led to nearly 70,000 jobs in the first 18 months of its rollout. And because it provides up to 5 levels of attainment, right, going from very basic skills all the way up to coding and cybersecurity skills, it gives a pathway for people to continue up that trajectory, which is specifically what you heard about in the video. And then through our collaborations with employers and community colleges, last year we granted over 38,000 credentials, providing people with skills targeted for employment. And finally, I should throw in there, because of what you just heard from the panel, our reentry programs are showing great success as well. And in our early stage DOL programs, we're seeing single-digit recidivism rates in the first year. And we're committed to understanding those successes much more deeply so that we can expand the impact we're having in helping people as they come home. So those are some of the success stories that we're working on to understand better and to build upon. We continue to learn from each of these initiatives so that we can refine and advance what works. But while we see many successful models that we can build on, the response today is fragmented. It is not holistic often, and it needs to be scalable. And if the experts are right, we are going to need to expand our efforts to expand our impact, be able to address this issue because of the significant scale. So I'm sure most of us would all agree that America needs to continue to innovate and advance technologically to maintain its leadership in a competitive global economy. But the primary fuel for maintaining that leadership is talent. And by tapping into the talent that surrounds us every day, we can develop our workforce to meet the needs of employers and create better pathways for Americans to adapt and thrive. Our people are our most strategic assets, and our investments need to reflect that. So I open up my comments today by showing you a story about how a life can be transformed in just 1 year. Over the next year, we at Goodwill will be collaborating with our 157 affiliates across North America to determine more specifically what our response must be to ensure that we leverage our network, our skills, the millions of human touch points we see every year to understand what's working so that we can deliver the greatest results and help people move ahead in their lives. Now, this room is filled with leaders, with influencers from businesses and chambers of commerce, state, federal agencies, associations, foundations, educational organizations. We're kind of all in this mix. And you all have remarkable opportunities to advance this important work where you are, whether it's whom you're hiring, how you invest in your employees, what policies you're working to advance, the partnerships you're building, or the programs you're funding. So I ask myself, what can we accomplish together in just 1 year? Because in the words of Chelsea Rucker, I hope that we can find many more people who have the opportunity to shoot for the stars. Thank you.